start together. A very warm welcome for today's launch webinar of CV Raman Young Researchers Program, a first of its kind initiative between Billabong High International School, GT Goenka School, the Sriram Schools, and a new research, Shulini University. All the institutions, we share a common vision to inspire teachers and students to do extraordinary things. A young mind is the sharpest mind. It learns quick, acts quicker, as few young minds love to pick machines over books and idea over words. The Young Researchers Program is a platform that is giving these young minds a place to experiment, innovate, and come up with something extraordinary. I am Shikha Sood, Head of Outreach, Shuli University. I give you a very hearty warm welcome to Preeti Agarwal, founder and CEO, Billabong High School, Kanpur, Mukta Kohli ma'am.
I think we lost Shikha.
Eyes frozen.
That's right. Avni, you want to take over from here?
Yeah, I think I will. So, can you guys hear me?
And our special guests of the day, Professor Atul Khosla, Dr. Nareen, Dr. Vasan, Kavita, and all the teachers, students, and parents who have taken out time to watch us live. We also have with us Avni Khosla, trustee and head of financial aid at Shulni University. She would be sharing the overview of the program and open the CV Raman YRP program in all the four schools. Over to you, Avni.
Thank you, Shikha, and a very, very warm welcome to everyone once again. I know a lot of students and parents and teachers have joined us today, and I'm extremely, extremely excited to welcome you all over here. Before we formally launch this amazing program across these four schools who have come to us today, I just want to tell all the parents and all the teachers and everyone who's gathered here. The very simple idea behind Ideas That Matter is to inspire all of us to do extraordinary things. We have it in us, and I think somewhere along the way, as we become adults from children, we lose out our power to be curious, we stop taking risks, we stop being innovative. And through this program, through the Young Researchers Program, we just hope that we are able to sparkle that curiosity, we are able to push you to be innovative in your day-to-day lives and do something a little beyond the ordinary. So that's really the idea behind the Young Researchers Program. I encourage all the parents to push their children to be a part of this program, and I would request all the teachers to encourage and handhold these very exciting young generation of our country to really achieve something way, way beyond than what they really think today they can. So I offer to you the Young Researchers Program, an idea by Ideas That Matter, conceptualized by Shulin University, second cohort being introduced in the GD Goenka School, the Billabong High School, and our two branches of the Sriram School. Please go ahead. Is that... Thank you so much. And we have some beautiful minds with us today. So one of them is our own founder and vice chancellor, Professor Atul Khosla. Atul, over to you, and we would love for you to inspire everyone who's gathered here today. And then we are also launching into a very, very interesting panel discussion with Dr. Nareen Shirmule, Dr. Vasan, and Kavita Iyer. I can tell you it'll be a treat to hear these three really, really amazing people. They are not just scientists, they're not just innovators, they also have some amazing hobbies. They are the kind of individuals parents look up to, I know at least my parents would look up to individuals like these, and I hope all of us can get inspired and become a little bit like them as we move forward in life. So over to you, Atul, and Atul is going to talk about a very interesting topic on the importance of innovation, why it is important to be curious all our lives, and probably link it to the new education policy. So Atul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Avni. And if you can close the screen, I'll appreciate if I can be lovely. Super. First of all, excuse me for my hairstyle. I think I haven't been to the barber for a very long time. So I'm looking a little like Einstein, someone told me. Actually, I'm not like Einstein. Anyway, good evening, students. Good evening, teachers, all the beautiful principals, and of course, my very dear friend Naren, Vasan. We haven't met, but good evening to you. So lovely to meet all of you here today. And I was asked to speak about the wonderful topic about research and innovation. And I don't know why Avni and Shikha put this burden on me because the last person who knows much about research is me. But let me go back probably 40 years or 45 years of my life. And let me take you through where how I grew and why I believe this is so important. So, my father ended up doing his PhD and postdoctoral studies from Oxford University. And I think all you teachers and parents and students would have heard about Oxford, right? So I can very proudly claim that I started my school education or education journey from Oxford. Of course, in a primary school, not at Oxford University, but that's where the genesis of my education started. And I moved to Solon in a small school called St. Luke's. Guess what? My father was a very ambitious person, and I had some beautiful teachers. So I grew up reading about Nobel Prize winners. I grew up reading about research. I grew up reading about Enid Blyton and all those exciting, mysterious things happening around the world. I also grew up reading a lovely book called Surely a Joking Mr. Feynman, but more about Mr. Feynman a little later. And students, however stupid I might be, but at the age of 10 or 11, I thought it was given that I will win the Nobel Prize. I'm not joking. I was convinced कि Nobel Prize तो मिल ही जाएगा. ठीक है? And somehow my principal is a guy called Mr. Michael in school would come to me and say, Atul, you were born to create the Khosla theory. So naturally, as a young kid, I would think, I have to do research in life, and we would do a lot of experiments. We would play around with the microscope, and we would play around with in our chemistry lab, and we would play around with in our physics lab. When I was in my sixth standard, Naren, I thought I had discovered some new laws of motion. And when I showed it to my physics professor, he laughed at me and said, "Oh, by the way, Newton had already discovered it a few hundred years before you." But that was the curiosity that was built in me and my elder brother and a bunch of other school students. And then the irony came in, and then ninth and 10th standard came in, and we had to then study for our class exams, our board exams. And guess what, students? I scored only 76% marks in my 10th, and I scored only 74% marks in my 12th. And by these mark standards, I should have been a loser in life. 76% marks in 10th? Come on, you get no admission anywhere, right? But I think that's where my story and my journey starts for all of you. Because of the curiosity that I had, because of the base that I'd built in terms of exploration, I actually did well. I cracked the JEE, I got into IIT Kanpur, and I was the first student from Himachal ever to get into IIT JEE. And that was an amazing feat for me that here was a student who had scored 74% marks in his 12th was getting into IIT. I mean, unbelievable. So here I was again walking into IIT thinking that I'll be a great researcher. And Avni, I walk into a lab. It was something called a wind tunnel. A wind tunnel is where you put an aircraft and you test the aerodynamic property of an aircraft. And I walk into the lab and I wanted to do some experiments, learn more about the lab, just exactly the way I'd done in school. And students, guess what? The professors came to me and said, "You're not supposed to enter the lab." They rapped my knuckles. "This is only for PhD students. Go out." पता नहीं क्या हुआ, वो जो फतूर था रिसर्च करने का, इनोवेशन करने का, as if it was a big balloon and someone had punctured it, and I told myself मेरे को तो रिसर्च करना ही नहीं अब. And guess what, students? I ended up doing an MBA, and then I did consulting all my life. Of course, I was very successful in that, and now I'm a teacher. So when Avni came to me and said we should do something, first thing that came to my mind, and me and Naren spoke a lot, we said we have to bring in the culture of research and innovation back into students. Why? Do you know what, students? The brightest ideas come from students who are young. Brightest ideas come from children who are from the age 14 to 16. And I was reading a book, whether it was Newton, it was Copernicus, it was Einstein, it was Galileo, it was many of the others. A large part of their innovation, their shaping of their lives came when they were in that age group, age 8 to 14 to 16. And if you can bring that curiosity into you, that excitement into you, I think all of you will do what I can do, which is win the Nobel Prize or become a unicorn owner, someone who's created $1 billion company, or going out and heading a big research institute, or like Naren, going out and becoming the head of research of a large Indian or global company. But the age 14 to 16 is very important. So, what is my dream? My dream is very simple, that you guys come up with bindas ideas, out of the box ideas, ideas that I can't think because I'm polluted by life. I'm polluted by 50 years of life, where everyone has told me, "Aisa nahi ho sakta." But you are young minds, you are bright minds. So nothing is impossible for all of you. So come up with ideas that are path breaking. Even today I'm a little curious. I was walking in the jungle and I discovered some stones and I discovered some, ruins, Naren. And I am trying to discover, I think there's probably an old civilization next to my university in the deepest of the jungles. Of course, Avni laughs at me. She says I'm crazy. But that's what you have to be. You have to be crazy. Research is about curiosity and being crazy and experimenting and coming up with new things. So if you can create that spark in you, then trust me, kids, you'll also clear IIT or you'll get into AIMS or whatever you want to do in life. So my dream is that we come up with some phenomenal ideas, which hopefully you guys patent. So I would like to see 5 to 8 patents coming out of this whole exercise, or probably more. You should have explored the journey of patenting a idea. How do you patent it? It'll give you that confidence कि हाँ मैं भी patent owner हूँ. Writing a research paper, you can try to do that. It might not be very good for the first time, but getting into that journey of figuring out, I think, is very critical. And finally, more importantly, who knows, 1 to 5 of such ideas might end up changing the world. And I know I've taken a lot of time, Avni, but I'm going to end with an example of the owner of Oyo. I don't know whether you guys know, but he was 19 years old when he came up with this idea of Oyo hotels. And it changed the way we look at hotels today. So if someone tells you that you're too young, don't believe them, because the best ideas will come from you. If someone tells you that you should spend all your time on books, don't believe them. Because I can tell you from my experience, and I look at my classmates at IIT, best students are the ones today, the best guys who are doing in profession are the ones who had that curiosity and that spark in them, not the ones whom we call maggus, who would go out and just study. We are the ones who are flying planes. I'm a qualified pilot. I did that at IIT. I might not have got great grades, but who cares at the end of the day? So you will crack IIT, you will get into AIMS, and you would have a phenomenal journey along the way. So let's research, let's innovate, and let's change the world. I'm going to end this discussion by a quote of someone that I really admire, and that is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs has quoted, and it's quote unquote, if you're crazy enough to believe that you can change the world, then you will change the world. So let's bring that craziness into us. Let's bring that craziness to believe that we can do new things. And I can guarantee that all your ideas won't go in vain. They will be phenomenally successful in some small or big way. And put everything behind it. Put your energy behind it. Put your creativity and your right brain behind it. And I'll speak about right brain probably later on in the panel discussion. And start believing in your idea. इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है. You know, that's a very famous dialogue of Shah Rukh Khan, and it's true. किसी भी चीज को दिल चांद से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसको आपसे मिलाने में लग जाती है. तो बिलीव कि आप भी न्यूटन और आइंस्टाइन और सब कुछ बन सकते हो. टेस्ला, राइट नाउ इट इज एलन मस्क इज द इन थिंग. मेक इट हैपन. And like someone once told me, just look at his shoes and just do it. So, pun intended, that's the tagline of Nike shoes, just do it. So, just do it, children. Make sure that you make yourself proud, your parents proud, your schools proud. And once again, I thank all of you students, parents, teachers, principals, and the 4 lovely schools out here who's given you the opportunity. When we started Sholini, people laughed at us. No one believed that research can happen in a private university or in any university in India. Today, as we speak, and Naren knows about this, Sholini has the #1 research platform in India, amongst the best in the world. And it comes from the belief that we can do it. So let's do it together and let's change the world together. Avni, over to you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you so much. I also feel like getting back into some kind of study mode. Thank you. And I think I can see a lot of smiling faces. I hope you've been able to inspire some of the students and parents who've also gathered here today. So we've got 4 amazingly successful schools with us. We've got their principals, we've got their CEOs, and I'm now going to open it, for them to introduce themselves. So first one, Ms. Mukta Kohli from GD Goenka School. Ma'am, if we can please hear a little from you about your school and what do you think about the program. Over to you, Mukta ma'am.
Thank you, Avni. And it's wonderful meeting you once again, all of you. We have been associated with Sholini for about 2 years, I would say now. We were fortunate to have a webinar last year with Dr. Naren. And personally, I was blessed, when I could hear his flute playing and a webinar that he took on creativity. Of course, Professor Atul has been taking a number of webinars. He has been associated with us for the past 2 years now. And it's always been wonderful with all of you. So I am Mukta Kohli, co-curricular activity coordinator with GD Goenka Public School, Greater Noida. We were founded in year 2011, and for the past 11 years now, we have been, I can proudly say, one of the most successful schools of Delhi NCR. And we have believed that each child is unique. And we take pride in appreciating the individual differences and celebrating in each and every child. And that is why we have been associated with this program. We believe that each child has got some innate potential, which sometimes, it's not that easy to tap. But yes, if given the right opportunity and if given the wings, and if students are made to believe in themselves, I'm sure sky is the limit. So our motto of higher, stronger, and brighter, we have lived up to the expectations, always tried to meet the expectations of both parents as well as the students. We boast of a sprawling green campus in Greater Noida, Swarna Green area of Greater Noida, with best of infrastructure and facilities, having world-class sports facilities, a semi-Olympic size pool, lawn tennis courts, a fully air-conditioned room, CCTV cameras installed in each and every classroom, buses, and we have this state-of-the-art infrastructure as far as the amenities are concerned. But I think it is beyond the amenities, child brain, like Atul said, that the creativity is found in simplest of the things, and yes, in simplest of the minds. So when we have these virgin minds in our students, I think that is where the potential is. When they can think originally, I think creativity will flow. So looking forward for this association with you, Avni, and I hope that we are able to give you some of the students who have this fire in them, who find their calling, and of course go ahead with filing of patents. That is of course a far-fetched stage, but I'm sure once we begin, there will always be a way forward. So thank you very much for associating us, Didi Goenka, with you all, and all the best for this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mukta ma'am. Beautiful words, and yes, we are here to inspire some of those virgin minds, and I hope we can do it together. I would now like to request Sudha Sahai ma'am from the Sri Ram School, Aravali, to please give us an introduction and say a few words.
Namaste, everyone. I head the senior campus of the Sri Ram School, Aravali, and Poonam is a coordinator for the career counseling cell for both Manisha ma'am's campus. She's going to speak about her campus and my campus, and she's going to share her views in detail. But my introduction is that I've been an educator all my life, and I enjoy being with children. I'm a mentor to them, and I derive energy from the energy of the children, and that's where my space is. And all the best to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha ma'am. So Atul and I also stay on campus, and I can just tell you we derive so much energy from the kids who are around with us. Unfortunately, it's the lockdown, but we still have 400 kids on campus, and I can just tell you it's a treat to be in the space of education and to be able to be with so many young, exciting kids. Over to you, Manisha ma'am from the Sri Ram School, Mulsari campus.
Namaste and a very warm good evening to all of you. It is quite warm nowadays. I just wanted to say that for me, this program, and when I just at the first time heard about the fact that this institute wants to work with a school for children to carry out research, I was thrilled because I felt that there has been a great need for such a thing to happen. I come from a background of research, and we also at my campus offer the national ISC curriculum as well as the international IB baccalaureate. And one of the reasons we went for the IB program was because we firmly believed that research and innovation is what's going to make a difference in the world. And looking at the so many problems in the world, innovative solutions are required. So encouraging young minds to explore, to research, to innovate, and to come up with some things. I think I really, whatever Professor spoke about resonated with me a great deal because I'm a firm believer of that. I love to interact with children. I always encourage them that it doesn't matter research. You may not get it right the first time. My favorite saying is that Edison tried 990 times, and the 1,000th attempt, he got the bulb. And somebody said, have you failed 990 times? He said, no, I learned what doesn't work. And I was looking for a better solution to make things work. So I think that's the motto with which I try to encourage my children. Think differently, be curious, and whatever ideas they have, they need to be, at least try them out, because only with trial and error, some fabulous things happen and change happens. So with that, thank you. We're looking forward to that association, and I'm sure our children will benefit greatly from the expertise that is offered by Shulini University. Also, many of our students, because they're applying to universities in India or overseas, would like to, have been doing and would like to carry on with research topics. So you might find some children very keen, and hence we've got 4 5 teachers who will be coordinating with you. With that, all the best for the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manisha ma'am, and thank you so much for that example of the light bulb. I mean, that's reality, and it actually happened. So please don't be afraid of failure, and that's one of the key things that you will learn as you go along the Young Researchers Program. Last but not the least, I now would invite Preeti ma'am from the Billabong International School. We've been doing a lot of events at Kanpur with your school, and I'm so excited to have you here, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate this platform because it gives opportunities to students who clearly do not see potential in themselves, do not have the confidence. And we live by the motto that we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is not an act, but a habit. So you would see that when you are interacting with our students, with our teachers, we try to be metacognitive. We think about our thinking before we get it to the table. So that's really sums it up for our school. And I would like to say that, you know, we've just entered the world records in terms of our commitment. So it's a fabulous day today when not only are we participating in this platform, but we are moving ahead with integrity and a lot of commitment, which resonates with our school. So yes, I stand by everything that my esteemed colleague just spoken of, and I look forward to wholeheartedly supporting this endeavor. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. We have, as I said, we have some amazing panelists with us today. I actually call them crusaders for the Young Researchers Program, Dr. Naren, Dr. Vasan, Kavita Iyer. And we're now going to launch ourselves into a very interesting panel discussion around collaboration, engagement, and innovation. I will request Professor Atul Khosla to moderate this very interesting panel. And I know Naren has some very interesting stories and anecdotes for you. So over to you, Naren, Vasan, and Kavita, and Atul. I will also not, I would not, I think it's very difficult to introduce these three veterans, as I call them. So I told them we're not going to introduce you, and we're going to leave it to you. So we'll possibly start with an introduction to the three of you. And over to you, Atul. They're yet to introduce themselves. You're on mute.
Thank you, Avni. I think you always put me in a tough spot because it's so difficult to moderate such brains. But I'll try. Lovely to see you again, Naren, and we haven't met before. Vasan, hi, lovely to see you, and Kavita, lovely to see you too. The topic for the day for discussion, teachers, students, is collaboration and engagement. Why is it important for research and innovation? And before I actually get into the Q&A, I'm going to bring one small example, which I always do, which is this. That's the Apple iPhone. Now, what is this, students? Is this a phone? Yeah, of course it is. Is it a music player? Yes, it is. Is it a camera? Yes, it is. Is it a computer? Yeah, it is a computer. And it's a nice, lovely piece of design also, Naren, right? And when you go and buy it, the retail store is also very lovely. You know, the Apple store is so beautifully done. The point I wanted to make is that if you think about products which are being developed, innovative products like the iPhone, there are people from all different spheres who come together to create that. Designers, metallurgy scientists, computer scientists, physicists, metallurgists, all different types of people who will come to create something like the Apple phone. I'm told that there are 3,000 people who come together to come and create the Apple phone, and that's one example. So which means that you cannot create phenomenal, innovative things in today's world without collaboration. And that's the topic of discussion today. how important is collaboration and teamwork in today's world. And I think what I'd request the panel is to speak about their experiences, share war stories, share anecdotes about how they have worked in teams or failed in teams sometimes. And I'd love to give some of my war stories along the way. Anyway, we've got some great speakers, and I'm going to start with Naren because I know you so much more, Naren, than anyone else. But I'd like each speaker to introduce themselves. And, we'll just spend 2 minutes introducing each other with one story, Naren, one story about failure rather than success, failure in research. So give a context of that and tell us that story and what you learned from that, and then we'll sort of warm up into the discussion. How much time do we have, Avni?
So you now have 29 minutes in
I have
all.
29. She's a great timekeeper. So Naren, over to you. You've got 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you. There's been already of so much information and fun, inspirational talks by everyone. And thank you to the principals and the teachers from the schools. It's so fun to hear from you. Teaching is one of the most difficult professions. I think it's underappreciated, right? I mean, we take things for granted, and so congratulations to all of you for doing such a difficult jobs in your lives. Thank you. With respect to this program, one thing that I got interested in this program, and Atul mentioned this to me, was in the pharmaceutical business, which is where I spent most of my career in. There is a lack of innovative thinking once you get into an industry, and by what I mean by that is, to develop a drug, you need to follow very regulated processes that doesn't allow you to constantly think of innovation. So if you think about, especially in India, in the pharmaceutical drug industry, India is a very, very strong market for making drugs. So almost 40% of the drugs that are sold in the US are made in India. So it's a very large proportion of drugs. But which are the drugs that are sold here? They are what are called generic drugs, which are sort of copies of drugs that were innovative 20 years ago, right? So novel drug discovery doesn't happen in India so much. And I think Kavita is going to speak about that, and she has pioneered a lot of this innovative work in her company, Zomator, and she'll get a chance to speak afterwards. But the lack of innovation is very, very stark in the pharmaceutical business that I see. And in order to solve this problem of innovation, I've tried many different things in companies. Then we've also went to colleges and universities and tried to see innovation in colleges and universities. But after talking to Atul and Avni over the last year or so, a little bit more than that, if you have to create an environment of innovation in people's mind, it has to be done in schools. By college, it's too late. So Atul, you told me to talk about failures, but one of the biggest, I won't call it failures, one of the things that I learned along the way is just like you explained, never in an environment to think innovatively. So I think the environment plays a big role in how you shape yourself. So I'll pause here and maybe hand it over to Vasan.
Before that, I know you're a very creative person. Tell us about the role of creativity, Naren. And we'll then play that small game later on. But I know creativity is so important, and you love creativity. So
yeah, I till just about 10 years ago, I was in a rat race of getting the bigger house and the bigger car and the bigger everything and closer to the beach. And, I was, your usual materialistic person who wanted everything bigger and better, right? But something happened 10 years ago, and I don't know what that is. And many things happened at that time. But then I said, all of this materialistic is sort of meaningless. So sannyas le lete na, like when you grow older, you go into sannyas. Grahasthashram khatam ho gaya, sannyas ki taraf ja rahe hain. Then you start getting think about philosophies of life. And so when that becomes, when materialistic things are not important, then what is important? Then what is important is this ability to contribute to society in some way or the other, right? And so in that way, what I learned for myself is I had been a scientist and a thinker of science forever, right? Because of your job. But then I love to play, I love music. And so when I started re-exploring my abilities to play the flute or play tabla or whatever the musical instruments that I do, I realized that I feel so much more happier playing music than I do science. So then if the pursuit of happiness is, if life is about pursuit of happiness, why would I do things that don't make me happy? So if playing the flute makes me happy, I play flute all the time. And I play flute, and in my career, I was fortunate enough to be in situations where I could play the flute in my office because there was no one to stop me. So I just played flute in my office. And I brought anybody who played any musical instruments to come to my office.
We're going to hold it out here. We're going to come back to you because you're going to play the flute. So better get a flute.
Yes, so creativity.
To Kavita. And, you spoke about new drug discovery, Narendra. It costs, I was reading, $2 billion to come up with a new drug. For students, that's 16,000 crores. I can't even count that much. 16,000 crores. I haven't even seen a crore. 16,000 crores is what it takes to discover a new drug. कविता करते क्या 16,000 crores का आप लोग इतना पैसा खर्च देते हो? We'd love to hear more about you and take us through the journey of discovering a drug.
Sure. Thank you so much. This is an awesome opportunity. This is really nice to be in the midst of, very importantly, so many women making such a difference from these schools. So awesome to see you all. Thank you for this opportunity, Naren, for the introduction, and of course, Avni putting it together. And Atul, it's great to kind of meet you for the first time maybe on this call. So I'll take off a little bit from where Naren picked it up, right? I've been in the space of biotech, yes, throughout, but just bringing in that vein, that's not how I started off. In the 9th and the 10th grade, I thought I wanted to be a journalist because my English was good and I used to write well. And I thought that was my one ticket to traveling the world. And so I pursued that, but having come from a family, again, of, South Indian chartered accountants, who teach, etc., I was molded to go a particular way. And that's why I chose what I chose. But today, I think, from the principals who mentor the kids to the students themselves, I'm sure you have a wider choice and opportunity to, kind of engage and, of course, innovate, which is the topic for today. But I think the choice is yours. Biotech and pharma that we speak today is just one of them, right? So in my own journey, as I went across, kind of studied, I did join the only biotech in Bangalore at that time, which was Biocom, right? And it was an amazing, ability. It gave me excellent grounding. And there came the transition between what we were doing at that time, which is generics, which is what Naren spoke about, to what is now, kind of innovation-driven drug development, which is what we do at Zumtar. So Zumtar's journey has been an interesting one. It has been fraught with so much, literally sweat and blood, because we draw blood every day for experiments that we do in our labs. But it's been fraught with a lot of things. But I think the satisfaction that it gives you, that you have patents that you file, kind of in your names, and the success eventually that you see, and the difference that something novel is going to bring to you, to the team, to the country is phenomenal. So that's a little bit of that. Before I kind of hand it over to Asim, I have to tell you this because one of the principals did mention, I think, the facilities that they have, which they said was like, an Olympic-sized pool, etc. So I come from a sport background. I was so, I got a seat for doing medicine because I was a gymnast. I really thought that, the sciences in studying could be one avenue, but you could pursue a sport. And that is something that could, kind of give you a fillip to do whatever is for the next. And I believe those are things in my favorite world, girls should also pursue. So if there are sporting avenues, and I'm a runner and I'm a swimmer, those are things that you should hang on to and possibly pursue also. So that's over to you, Vasim.
Thank you, Kavita. It's always difficult to go after Naren and Kavita. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm super excited to be a part of this elite group here. A lot of youngsters, young minds, teachers, passionate teachers, visionary principals, and of course, the Shulni team. So my background is very different. Me and my sister were the first generation to go to college, but my parents were the biggest support. I've been extraordinarily lucky to have some of the great teachers in school, the best mentor at PhD, and of course, I ended up in Albert Einstein College of Medicine. So that sowed the seed of innovation. Worked with a supervisor who was phenomenally creative, a crazy guy, but extraordinarily brilliant. He has shaken up the world of the space where he works on in terms of coming with the best creativity. So that sowed the seeds. Then came the question of seeing a lot of human suffering, having trained in medical schools. I joined a multinational company, pharma company, Novartis, then AstraZeneca, where I saw what is innovative research all about, with no boundaries, breakthrough therapies, breakthrough research. And then after 10 years abroad, home calling, coming back to India, joined Biocon, again, a common thread with both Naren and Kavita, where I saw what is frugal innovation. How can you work on affordable innovation? Because innovation comes with a huge price. Yesterday, a friend of mine from US messaged that one of his family members' child has a genetic disorder. The drug cost 16 crores made by Novartis. So that was something which is mind-boggling. I don't think anybody can afford. All you do is to see your child die. So affordable innovation is something which I'm very passionate about. And like Naren said, we worked in a very constrained environment in terms of being able to think and fit it into a process so that it can be iterative. So I cut loose, left all that, and moved into a space of education, advancing discovery in my new role in India Alliance. But as Naren said, the most important is to focus on young minds, 14 to 16-year age group, but I'm focusing more on adults. I'm doing more of adult education in terms of researchers, advanced researchers, in terms of how can we be an enabler to bring in innovation? How can we provide the support systems? Hoping that one of the children, or many children from this cohort, will end up getting our fellowships. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
This is very interesting, Vasan. You spoke about affordable innovation, and I'd like one question to you. If I'm a student, I normally would think that complex, we like complex things, and we'll believe that complex ideas are more innovative. So, what's your message to students? Is it simple things that are more difficult to come up with new ideas, simple ideas, or is it complex issues which bring innovation? What's your high level thought on that?
That's a great question, Atul. So I think at the end of the day, great innovations are very simple, right? It starts from a very astute observation. And again, thinking about who your target audience is. For example, you showed the example of an iPhone, which again caters to a section of the society. But I'm talking more about affordable innovation where you want to treat a million patients or a billion patients, right? In terms of being able to access the fruits of innovation. So there is a subtle difference, and definitely it has to be customized to who the target audience is. That's where the question of engagement, which is one of other topics in the in a panel discussion, becomes very important in terms of engaging with the right people, the right stakeholder, understanding the needs, and then trying to fit the innovation to solve a focus problem.
I think that's a very important thing for students, because what you're saying is understand from the people around you what their problem is, and then try to come up with solutions for them. Engaging with the population is also a very important part of the innovation process. Fantastic. Let's switch over to creativity, Naren. We speak about the left brain, right brain. There's some people are very strong on mathematics, and there's some people are very strong on the right side of the brain, which is creativity. Of course, you are probably both. What is more important in the innovation process? Is it ability to come up with new mathematical things, or is it the ability to think outside the box, or is it the ability to collaborate or lead, or is it all the above?
Yeah, Atul, it's definitely all of the above. I can give you a lot of examples of creativity, but you asked me to play the flute, and Mukta, you told me that I played the flute last time, and so I'd love to play the flute. But what I'd like to hear one of you or the children sing this time.
Avni will sing today.
That's a good one.
Or at least one of the children should sing. Whoever, maybe you can choose one of the
Raise your
children.
hand and we can bring them in. Yeah, it'll be lovely to have.
Children, you can raise your hands or maybe write in the Q&A, and then we will upgrade you to speak.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
fact, I
Anyone
think
can
there's
write.
one question we'll request students to ask questions, right? So students keep writing in the small chat board and keep asking questions. We'll be delighted to answer you, right? But Naren, fruit to banta hai before that.
बजाएंगे, बाद में बजा देंगे. पहले बच्चों को तो like, I'll definitely play, surely. But let's hear from the kids.
Let's see. Any student would like to sing or play anything? Okay, I think we'll wait for the volunteers to come. But you know, as a leader now, I mean, this is basically for the students. What I was pointing towards is, Naren, should we try to copy others, or should we try to be ourselves as we think about innovation, as we think about what we want to do, especially in this program or otherwise in life?
Yeah. So, I think innovation, and while we wait for some questions from folks, everything that I think we do comes in milestones or layers. So there's always a low, medium, high for anything you do. So if you ask someone to innovate when they've never innovated before, it's like it's like telling someone to go to the gym and please pick up this 200 kilogram weight when you've not even done exercises, right? There's no way that the person can pick up the 200 kilogram weight. First, let the person pick up the 1 kilogram weight. Practice. Then 10. Then maybe they will pick up the 100 kilogram weight. So even innovation, the first layers of innovation doesn't necessarily have to be this fantastic Nobel Prize winning idea. First, do the stupid ideas. Sorry, not stupid, but do some of the really obvious ideas, and the first idea doesn't have to be innovative. Once you start getting into the road of innovation, then something innovative will come. So think about low, medium, high. So that's sort of my thought.
Great thoughts, and we're still waiting for the students to raise their hands and play the flute. And I want to come to Kavita, and I'm curious about yeah.
Can I ask one of the teachers a question, if you don't mind?
Go ahead, Naren. Absolutely, this is
I
done.
would love to hear from any of those on the panel here on what they do for innovation in their school currently. It might be useful for us to just hear, because obviously they are very progressive schools. So I think maybe there's something that they do already. Please.
Yeah, Dr. Naren, I will take that question. So during our regular, I would say, curricular periods or academic periods only, we do have some lab periods slotted. And, like, for example, I take geography in grades 9 and 10. So once in a fortnight, I have a lab period where I let children innovate. And we perform, like for geography, I do math work with them. For history, we take up an activity. And of course, in sciences, I mean, sky is the limit in sciences where they perform experiments. Apart from this, we do have, co-curricular period once a week. Once a week for the sports, and once a week for the other extracurricular activities, wherein children, learn these offbeat things apart from the academic things. So there is a co-curricular period even in online teaching, slotted the way it was in offline teaching. So that is what we do. I would love to hear it from other principals. How
So
are they going
Naren,
about?
can I just come in for a minute? And I think we missed hearing from Poonam Prakash ma'am. She's the head academic counselor for both the branches of the Sri Ram School. And, we've been having a little bit of a debate around, whether research can only happen in science streams, why don't people innovate in literature, and why don't people talk about innovation in history, in sports, in music? So, I mean, that's also a fear that she had, Avni, are we alienating my non-science students from your YRP program? So, Poonam ma'am, why don't we hear from you about it, and then probably we can go to Kavita, because I know she also has some very strong ideas about this subject. Over to you, Poonam ma'am.
Yeah, so I first want to answer the question that Dr. Naren asked about what we do as a school to encourage research or innovation. So there are 2-3 things that really stand out. One, like I said last time, was in one of our branches, we offer the IB curriculum, which naturally lends itself, the curriculum demands lend itself to, innovation, critical thinking, research, where students have to design their experiments for science. They have to do projects which are based on both primary and secondary data. So that's one part which is a requirement of the curriculum. Now, other than that, we encourage a lot of critical thinking and research skills, and we in fact even recognize it on a platform where we give them innovator awards. We don't have a maximum limit on the number of awards that we give, but our children definitely come out with some fabulous innovations, whether it is in terms of app development or it is in terms of an idea, a business idea. So, and the other thing that we do is we have societies. Much like college, we have societies which have society heads and secretaries from grade 11 and 12, and all students from grade 6 to 12 are expected to be a part of the societies. So I'm not saying 100% of them take advantage of the society and they work really hard towards it. Yes, but I would definitely say 60% of the students really benefit from the societies, whether it's the culinary society or the eco society or the science or the debating society. So those are 2-3 platforms that we have where we really encourage research and critical thinking. Now, coming to the point that Avni said, I did raise the point at the last time, and now I'm kind of convinced that this will also lend itself to a lot of research. In fact, my apprehension stemmed from the fact that all the panelists here were from hardcore science backgrounds. So I was wondering, opening it up to my non-science students or my grade 9 students who are pretty undecided, I hope they won't feel left out given the panelists and the mentors. I guess you would also be the mentors, but now my questions are pretty much at rest now.
I have to tell you, ma'am, that while I might have studied engineering and I went to IIT, like I mentioned, I think I might be the least scientific of the lot. I actually believe that a huge amount of innovation today needs to happen outside of science, because if you really think, even if, let's say, Kavita comes up with a great invention, we need to innovate the delivery system. We need to innovate the communication to individuals. And I'll give a small example over here. Students, I was speaking to my driver's wife, and she doesn't want to take, for example, the vaccine because someone has told her that, the vaccine is not up to the mark. So how do you innovate communication to the masses of the country to change things? And I believe Mahatma Gandhi was one of the biggest innovators, ma'am. I mean, look at the beauty of his ability to take a simple thought and get the whole country running after him. The Dandi March is a classical example of that. So, absolutely agree that research and innovation should happen not just in science, but in liberal areas like music and other areas. So, hats off for bringing it up. So, thank you. Yes, Abni, you wanted to say something.
No, actually, I was waiting to hear from Kavita on this one because I know that she has some really amazing people who will be joining our panel very shortly for the next couple of sessions.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this to Avneet and to address the point mentioned before, and this is a balance I constantly strive, even to kids that I mentor or folks that I speak to. It's not in the pursuit of science that is the goal. It's in the pursuit of getting ahead, and it doesn't matter in which space. That's really what's interesting, and there's innovation in those spaces. So coming to the specific topic of non-science, and I love those topics, is in the pursuit of, from the arts to the social sciences to publishing. And one of the things that we mentioned, possibly in the next time that we speak, we'll have somebody in the history and publishing space, who could give the students a really good idea about what lies ahead if something like that could be chosen, right? And so there are many spaces apart from tech and science that could also be chosen. And I may not be the right person to kind of give this audience an idea of what is, but we'll bring in some folks. So that's there on the cards.
So we have some interesting observations from Sugato Palit. Might be a good idea to just quickly get him into the panel. And we have a question from Praful Chandran. He's saying, is a good business plan an innovative idea?
So I think we should have Vasan pick that up. We want to hear more of you, Vasan. So is a business plan a good innovative idea?
Absolutely, yes. Because it just sows the seed and it also looks at the pathway or the journey of creating what the end product is. So definitely, if someone is putting in a sound business plan, it clearly shows that they've done the homework, they've done the research, they know the dependencies of who should be doing what is the amount of money needed, and then research does not happen without money. So it encompasses the idea, the ecosystem, the people who are going to really contribute, and finally the finances and how the whole thing is going to be managed and shaped up with all the risk and everything identified. So I think that's a great starting point.
There's another
Shreyansh is
interest.
asking a very interesting
Yeah.
question. I'd like to, bring this up to all the panelists. So Shreyansh is saying, why are innovative ideas always so expensive? They need a lot of money. Why is so much money invested in R&D? Wow, what a beautiful question. Naren, thoughts?
You know, one of the exercises we will do during the workshops, the several workshops that we are going to have for the teachers as well as the students, is to clarify what it takes to do innovation. There's some innovations that don't require money; it can be done very cheaply. But many times you need innovation to create new entities. For example, if you need to do innovation, you need bright minds, right? Somebody has to pay their salary. There's a value. There's a value for everything. You might not, and Atul, I know you call yourself as a socialist. I mean, it's great that you call yourself as a socialist, but everything costs money. Everything costs money. Nobody is doing anything for free. So if you hire two scientists, high-level scientists, just to think about the project that you want to do, you have to pay them 1 crore each just to come to the table to talk to you. That's their salary. That's their value. You've not done anything. You've just invited them. You already spent 2 crores.
So we are very lucky that we have volunteers like you and Vasan and Kavita. So thank you so much for doing it complimentary, Naren. Uh,
We're waiting for the money.
okay. No, we're waiting for the students to come up with great ideas which they'll patent, and hopefully we'll create money out of that, right? And the students will also get very rich. So we're waiting for some phenomenal ideas to come. But I think I'll answer it in a slightly different way also, Shreyansh. I'll say that yes, you sometimes need a lot of money to create innovation, but every time you don't need money to create innovation. You can also create innovation without money. If you don't have money, you can still create innovation. And I'll give you examples of the power of observation. Some of the greatest theories of the world, like the Charles Darwin, for example. It was pure observation where he talked about survival of the fittest, right? Or Newton, it was not based on any experiments. So, yes, sometimes you need a lot of money, like Naren says, but you, as a student who doesn't have access to money, can still come up with innovative ideas without money. So don't be disheartened. I think keep thinking and you'll come up with ideas. Do you agree with that, Kavita? Have you ever come up with crazy ideas about doing new things without money?
We constantly think of crazy ideas, and it's to do with less money possibly. But yeah, I think there lies, and things like Manu's lab in Stanford, which is the $1 lab. That's a good idea about frugal innovation, which is brilliant. But like Naren said, what it takes to fund that lab is something else, right? And the innovations that come of it. Yeah, but yeah, we're constantly, I think, in the whole. And jugaad is not the right word, because it's not to cut corners and to do something that's in the short term. I think innovation is definitely value added in the long term, right? And so there is merit to time, there is merit to patience, and all of that builds character. Yeah, as we go.
Fantastic. I think we've got Shugato with us. And Shugato had some observations and questions. Shugato, you want to switch on your camera and unmute yourself? We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself, Shugato.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared to be in front of the camera. My apologies. The only reason I'm present here is I'm representing my son, who's in the Shriram school, and he's down for a walk after a month and a half. So I didn't have a heart to stop him. So this is something very close to my heart because I've been practicing innovation from a corporate side for the last 26 years over different companies. And I am not a technical person. I'm a human resources professional. And so while we are connected on the net, Professor Khosla, I thought it was a privilege to hear you out in person. And so just happened to share some of the observations which Naren and you and Vasan have been speaking about. It's very fascinating. And interestingly enough, a couple of things which you mentioned with reference to Feynman, surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman, and these are legends which inspire, you know, a book called Maverick with Ricardo Sembler. So just two quick points which I wanted to make before I leave the space back to all of you. One is I don't think it's really important to have a lot of funds to innovate. Innovation can be achieved through thoughts, and one of the processes of design thinking is something called prototyping, where you can build small scale multiple models to see and test it out with your potential customers to see what works best. And then you take that most likely idea and develop it further, and then start testing before you get into the big scale launch. So you can de-risk yourself. Companies which have very deep pockets and are able to take the plunge like Apple, etc., can afford to go deep. But for people who start up, they make two mistakes. One, they assume everything is expensive. It's not. You just scale up gradually. Secondly, it's not about how much PE funding you can get to begin your business with, because the more funding you acquire, the more control you lose and the more you're in debt. So sometimes it also can be a double-edged sword that way. So that's my only two bits over here. It is extremely important. My compliments to you for whatever you've been doing with Shulin University has been something I've been tracking very closely on LinkedIn. It's very inspirational. So wish you and everybody associated with you much more success, more power, and much more inspiration to all of us. And my
Thank you,
son,
Pradhu, and we hope your son will be participating and coming up with some great ideas, and wish you all the best in that.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Preeti ma'am, I think we missed you on what you're doing on Naren's question around how do you bring innovation to students?
Yeah, well, what we are doing is that, we have a lot of opportunities which we are throwing. We are running a Cambridge curriculum. We are, going in for metacognitive thinking. So every time we do something, we retrospect, we give a lot of feedback. We start from a space where we have peer mentoring. We run a lot of clubs which are led by students. We really value enterprise in the school, which is really the centerpiece. We give any which platform. There was a student who ran, a pet club. So we really embrace that. So the spirit of enterprise, we don't prepare our students for job per se. We ask them categorically, why do you want to be a part of an elimination exam? What are you going to achieve out of it? It's just a safety net at the end of the day. So, those are the kind of platforms which are close to the school and which is embedded in the ethos. So this is our idea of innovate, how to make things better. So what is it that you have done today and how can we better it tomorrow? So that would be our definition from our space.
Fantastic. I still haven't got hands for the flute. So Naren, I know we've got a couple of minutes left, so we have to have you play the flute. And I don't know, Vasan, do you play the flute too, or you're more the piano types?
No, I'm bad with instruments. I
Vasan
always
is a
love,
marathon
enjoy,
runner.
always. I really enjoy when Naren plays flute. He came home and did the same thing. So he creates a magic wherever he is.
You're
You
on
need to
mute.
switch on
You're on mute,
mute.
Vasan.
Naren is on mute.
Yeah, both Vasan and Kavita are not just marathon runners, they're like ultra marathon runners, like 50 and 100-kilometer runners, not just the 42 that people normally run. So I don't know how much time we have, but I'll just play, since Atul constantly insists, I'd still rather hear a student sing. Thank you. And hopefully, Poonam, this helps. This contributes a little bit to the non-scientific discussions that you're having.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got one last question and we've got just half a minute more. We've got Kea who's asking a very interesting question saying, when will workshops start? I think what Kea is probably asking is when would labs and workshops and classrooms start because of COVID? Now, you guys are biotechnologists working in pharma labs. Any thought, Vasan, Kavita, when do we go back to normal? When does the normal start?
So for us, we didn't have a choice. We had to start very, very quickly because we are 100% EOU. We needed to start. We started at a 50% capacity almost 2 weeks back. So I think with the ease of this second wave, and hopefully everybody has learned what to do, and our vaccination drives, I think things will open up, at least from the industry perspective. We didn't have a choice. We have to open up, else, we can't survive. So that's from my side. Vasan probably has a different perspective, or he over to you, Vasan.
Since I'm more from an industry and our life in the industry, so we will wait and watch till things get better. All we're doing is encouraging all our employees and their families to get vaccinated. That's the advice I have for everyone here. If you are eligible in the, if you are an age group and eligible for vaccination, please get it done. That's the only way we have to get back to normalcy.
Fantastic. I think we are coming to an end, and like I always do, before we close the day, I'll first like to thank everyone, but more importantly, 30 seconds, last thoughts from all the three speakers. Naren, first from your side, 30 seconds.
Yeah. What should I say? Free yourself of all the inhibitions.
Great thought. Free yourself. Bindas. Like in Indian Idol, they say, khul ke gana gao. Aise khul ke ideas lao. I think that's a phenomenal one. Kavita, your last 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think I would encourage the kids and of course their mentors reaching out to people who are in the space or what space you're interested in is very important. That is the first connection to make, right? And so happy to be enabling such things. And yeah, I encourage that.
Reaching out, reading, reaching out to people who know about the subject. I think phenomenal thought, Kavita. Vasan, your last 30 seconds.
Innovation has no price tag. So just think.
It's
and
all
start today. Start today.
So wonderful, so wonderful. I think great thoughts. Hopefully, we are in front of a Nobel Prize winner. Hopefully, one of you students is going to break the internet with your wonderful, wonderful ideas. And I'm convinced, actually, it's not hopefully, I'm convinced it will. Really looking forward to phenomenal, phenomenal thoughts, ideas, innovations from all of you. Go out and just do it very freely without constraints, and we're out there to help you. We've got some phenomenal mentors here. Your teachers are there. So lift yourselves and change the world. So with that, thank you very much. Once again, my name is Atul Khosla, and I'll be delighted to keep talking to all of you. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Avni, and we'll also like to hear probably 30 seconds from the principals, their last thoughts. Probably we can request Poonam ma'am for your 30 seconds of last thoughts and go around the table before we close.
Really looking forward to this journey with you, and I hope kids will really benefit from this.
Absolutely, look forward. Preeti ma'am.
Just go for it.
Just go for it. Just do it. I love it. And we have Mukta, of course. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think Atul, post-COVID, I think we will have innovations in many other fields apart from the medical sciences. Of course, biotechnology and microbiology will go a long, long way, of course, because of the antibiotics. But other fields like anthropology, sociology, I think paramedics will have a comeback, I think, because of the complex nature of this disease. Not only the medical sciences, but I think the sociological and the human resource aspect of it will be researched. So there are, I think, innovations in many more fields
Lots of new
post-COVID.
innovations going to come in. Absolutely wonderful. And Shugato says, keep flying. Richard Bach, beautiful book. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, students, teachers, see if you can read that. Absolutely keep flying and look forward to that. Avni, for you to close the session.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you, all the teachers and the principals, our lovely guests, innovators, crusaders, change makers, and hopefully some Nobel Prize winners who are sitting amongst all of us today. It was so lovely to have you all here. I know there are a bunch of questions around when will the workshop start. So very soon, your teacher coordinators will give you all the details. And I can just tell you that all of us can't wait to get you into our workshops and our webinars, because I know something very exciting is on the way for the next couple of months. So thank you once again. Thank you, Dr. Naren, Dr. Vasan, Kavita, all our principals, all our teachers, and Atul. Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and please get vaccinated if you haven't already. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Take care and stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Bye-bye, children.
Bye-bye.
Bye.